Elon Musk's Space Exploration Technologies, also known as SpaceX, is offering to sell insider shares in a tender that would value the company at $140 billion. So does this really mean that SpaceX could eventually be going public? Well, the offer values the shares at $77 each, according to the latest Bloomberg report, a substantial lift in the SpaceX current valuation of $127 billion back in January. So let's discuss the potential of a company like SpaceX actually going public. And mind you, discussions have ranged up to $85 a share, according to some reports, indicating that the company's value has moved back from $150 billion. Keep in mind though, that SpaceX has not revealed how much funding it intends to raise from the offering. And furthermore, the SpaceX valuation makes it one of the most highest valued private companies in the United States. Alright, so for a bit of background now, just for those unfamiliar with SpaceX. Founded by Elon Musk in 2002, SpaceX designs, manufactures, and launches vehicles, rocket engines, spacecrafts, and communications satellites. The company aims to commercialize space transportation and enable the exploration of Moon and the colonization of Mars. SpaceX currently sends rockets and spacecrafts into orbit for private companies, as well as NASA and other government organizations through contracts. SpaceX is driving innovation in the use of reusable booster rockets to save on operational costs as well. The company works on behalf of NASA to transport astronauts to and from the International Space Station and run private space tourism trips. And maybe even more importantly to investors, SpaceX owns the Starlink satellite internet service provider, which has launched thousands of its satellites into orbit since January 2020, providing internet connectivity to more than 40 countries, including a lot of remote regions that otherwise wouldn't have even gotten internet. Starlink has even enabled Ukraine to maintain internet access since the Russian invasion in February 2022. And as of June, SpaceX said it has 400,000 Starlink subscribers, up from 250,000 in March. Alright, so let's talk more about SpaceX. SpaceX has received more than $9.8 billion from 32 financial rounds, according to data compiled by Crunchbase as of the 14th of February. And the most recent was $250 million of a private equity round with 3 investors in July 2022. And SpaceX valuation history indicates that the company's worth surpasses the $1 billion mark in 2010. It has since increased around $33 billion in 2019 to $46 billion in 2020, and more recently up to the $127 billion in July of 2022. So basically, SpaceX's market valuation has quadrupled in 3 years, and is one of the very few companies to have gained value in 2022. So the $140 billion valuation of SpaceX would actually consider it the world's largest unicorn, which in Silicon Valley lingo is a startup or private company with the market value of over $1 billion. So SpaceX is among the most demand companies for secondary share offerings as investors look to gain more exposure in their portfolios to space technology. But back to this share offering. The share offering aims to help SpaceX employees and shareholders to cash out of their shares, according to some reports, and SpaceX has often provided liquidity for employees and early-stage investors to actually sell their shares on the secondary market without waiting for the company to list on a public stock exchange. And get this, Musk reportedly told SpaceX employees in June that the company could spin off Starlink into a separate publicly listed business in 2025 or later once its cash flow is more predictable. However, do I think that SpaceX will ever go public? Despite the lofty valuation for SpaceX, I really don't think that this company could go public, at least in the near term. As I mentioned earlier though, it is far more likely that Starlink will go public, and I think for now, that's as close as we're gonna get for normal retail investors to invest in something like SpaceX. And as a private company, realize that SpaceX has no obligation to disclose its revenue, but it could have brought a few $1 billion from its launch sales and the Starlink internet service. However, with the current rapidly growing space industry, I honestly think anything is possible at this point, so don't take my word for it. And even though I think it's still unlikely for SpaceX to go public, Starlink, I think, will be our next best thing to invest in for Elon's vision of the space industry. And with that, I'll wrap up the video here. Thanks as always, and I'll catch you next time.